This is Dirshu Mishnah Berurah as we continue Simin Mem. Today we're going to be learning Sif Gimel all the way to the end of the Simin in Sif Ches. And today's shir, excuse me. And today's shir again has been generously sponsored by a close friend as a schos shidduch for Riverisha Bas Devaira Mir Tashem. The learning the entire Chabura day by day should bring Riverisha Bas Devaira an incredible shidduch hagoin b'karev. We begin over here in Sif Gimel, which the Mechaber teaches us. We're continuing the halachas of the kedusha, of the sanctity, which is required for our tefillin. Yesterday we learned the incredible halacha that you can't have tefillin, you cannot have svarim in a room, and one is together with his wife. We learned the halachas of a double covering. We learned that the covering of the bag of the tefillin itself is considered one covering, and you need to have a second covering. Today in Sif Gimel, the Mechaber begins by teaching us even when it's in a kli b'tay kli, still you have to be aware that there are tefillin inside, and you cannot do whatever you want with them. You're not allowed to put them under your legs. If you cannot put it under your head, opposite your head. Even if a wife is not there, just the mere fact of sleeping with tefillin inside a kli b'tay kli under your legs, your head is inappropriate. Mutter. If it's not opposite your head or just in your room and the wife is not there, it's allowed. So says Mishnah Berurah over here in Sifkat and Tas, Keneged Rosh Hashu Gam Giderch B'Zayin. Explains the Mishnah Berurah like we said, because that is a B'Zayin. But the Mechaber continued that if it's not opposite your head and your wife is not there, it is allowed. Mutter Sifkat and Yod says Mishnah Berurah, Afilu Shaloi B'Chli Klal. Even if it's not in a kli, the tefillin are sitting there, it is still allowed if one is sleeping in the room. Rak. You just put it in a way that it's not going to roll off the bed. You just put it between both pillows, not opposite your head. And Mishnah Berurah said, but if your wife is with you, then you need the kli b'toy kli. It says in Mishnah Berurah, if continued aleph b'toy kli, dainu shabenicham b'toy kli, oy kisam yuchalem dachas akar. You put it into a bag, or the kiss that is specific for them under the pillow. Dakar mikri kli sheni, because the pillow, like we spoke about yesterday, you can put underneath some clothing or under a pillow. It's considered the second covering. Or shenicham li b'toy kli dachas shnei karim. Or you put it in both kelim under two pillows. Chazal did not allow you to put the tefillin underneath your head when your wife is there, even in a double covering. To save it from robbers or mice. And therefore, if you have someone else, you don't put it in your bed. And of course, nowadays, I don't think anyone leaves his tefillin sandwich between his pillow. We have many other places to keep our tefillin. If you have a place above your head, a place protruding from the bed, is above 3 tvachim deep, you're allowed to put it there. We continue in Sif Dalet that says the Mishnah Berurah, says the Mechaber, if one's wife is together with him in the bed, but they don't plan on sleeping together. Mikri ein ishta imai, that's not considered his wife there with you. So the detail that we're learning over here is not a detail of the mere fact of man and woman being together in a bed where tefillin are there, but rather it is the act of intercourse, it is the act of sleeping together. And if one does not plan on such, then it would be allowed to keep his tefillin there. Says Mishnah Berurah, if cutting your beis, mikri vataz, says the Taz, no. Unless it's in a double covering. Why? Says the Taz, practically. Maybe you'll forget your tefillin are there and you can have relations. So it certainly is a chumrah not to have them when one is with his wife, even not in a, even if they don't plan on being together, should always have them in a double covering. Says the Mechaber, says, hey, put it in the bed on the side of you, that is like underneath your feet. Says Mishnah Berurah, why? Because even though right now it's on the side of your bed, but sometimes you roll over and you can end up on top of your tefillin. The benches. Underneath the benches, there are boxes. That within the bench, there's a box that you put your towels and tefillin there. Some say you're now not allowed to sit on the bench. There's some that are lenient. Let's say there's a tevach between where your tefillin talos are until where you sit, then a tefach being somewhere between 5 and 8 inches, then motor b'ad elishon sasal, and then you're allowed to sit on the benches. Ubal nefesh says Mishnah Berurah roilo lahachmer shel makom atchakam bazeh. Says Mishnah Berurah, bal nefesh should be stringent unless it's a pressing matter, even in this scenario. Why? Ki tefillin yeshizayir b'kedusha me'oid, as we're seeing your tefillin require a higher level of kedusha. And let's say there are nails in the wall. If the bench is connected to the wall, then you're allowed to sit on the bench. Says the Mechaber in Sivvav, if you didn't listen to Sivdalid, and your tefillin were sitting there, where your tefillin were sitting there on your bed, and you didn't plan on having relations, then all of a sudden in the middle of the night, one ended up having relations with his wife in a scenario that his tefillin were there on the bed. You should not touch the batim or the retzuis of your tefillin until you wash your hands after one is with his wife. Because your hands move around, they might have touched a covered area. Says Mishnah Berurah, and afterwards you remove them until you wipe off the carry from the body, as we're about to see right now. Says the Mechaber in Siv Zayin, Yosham ba'em v'ra carry. Someone slept and he had a seminal emission at night. Lo yachos ba'batim, you should not grab hold of the bottom of the tefillin al yachos b'rtzua u'mas brahem. Says the Ramah, carry my love until you wipe it off and wash your hands. Says the Mishnah Berurah, because here we're not worried, you might have touched an area, cause it was just a seminal emission that happened that night, and they were made to hold on to the ritzuyas and remove them. Of course, this situation never have happened, as we've seen. You're not supposed to be sleeping in your tefillin. But in the scenario that someone fell asleep in their tefillin, and then they saw carry, so what are you supposed to do right now? So says the Mechaber and explains by the Mishnah Berurah, what you do is you remove it from the Ritzuais because you don't want the tefillin on you when one has the dirty carry on themselves. When you wash your hands, after you wash your hands, you let it put your tefillin on, even though you're tamei from the carry. Of course, we paskin that we put on tefillin and we daven, even in a situation of tama. We are not, as we'll see later on, there's a chumrah certainly to go to the mikvah after one is together with his wife in order to remove the tumas kari. But medina, as Mishnah Berurah just taught us, we are not machmir and one is allowed to put on his tefillin. Says the Mechaber in Simchas, and we conclude the siman and today's shir, hanichnas l'sudas kava. Someone going to sit down to have a set meal, cholzin, take off your tefillin, manichan al shulchan, and put them on the table, atzman bracha till you bench. Of course, this is in a world where they wore their tefillin all day, but when you're having a set meal, you take them off, you leave them next to you, and you put them back on for benching. For a minor temporary meal, you do not eat nitzarich lecholzin, you do not have to remove them. Says Mishnah Berurah, why? What's the reason you're taking your tefillin off? Says Mishnah Berurah, because we have to be worried that maybe you'll get drunk during the meal and it'll be an embarrassment to the tefillin. Allah shulchan, you put them on the table. Sivkatin yudchat, says Mishnah Berurah, kedeshim uzumanim l'las l'nicha m'shazah bracha. So you can put them right back on when you bench. Yito aval, sivkatin yutes. Steve shulchan shalom mistabik defshe zeu davkim mishnich kol yoyim. Of course, says the Shulchan Shema, as we spoke out, that the allowance to eat achilas harai perhaps might only be someone who wears his tefillin all day. And this is where it comes from, that one should not eat even an achilas harai in his tefillin. Definitely doesn't sound like it is usher, but the Sefer Shulchan Shema is not sure, and therefore there is certainly a chumrah to make sure not to eat even an achilas harai, even a snack, while wearing tefillin. Says Mishnah Berurah, if God and Chava, right near the Shechilas, right? Okay, basically in the Sukkah, like we've seen in Sukkah Cemetery, Samantas, Yayin Sham, and Amir Tashem will begin Simon Mem Aleph in the next year.